A total of 18 skulls was tested, and results came back from 12.
Traced the mitochondrial genome to elongated skulls to the haplogroup that most close.
For centuries, the elongated skulls found in Peru have baffled archaeologists. For years, scientists believed they were merely the result of cultural headbinding. But a new breakthrough in AI-powered DNA analysis has revealed something far more terrifying. The truth is more shocking than anyone could have imagined. What if these skulls weren't just altered? What if they came from somewhere far, far beyond Peru? The Paracas region of Peru, a vast desert landscape, holds some of the most mysterious artifacts ever discovered. These aren't just ancient relics. They are bodies, skulls to be precise, found in burial sites that date back over 3,000 years. These skulls have intrigued historians, anthropologists, and archaeologists for decades. They are unlike anything seen in human history: elongated, disproportionate, and hauntingly strange. For years, the prevailing explanation for these anomalies was simple: headbinding, a practice common among ancient cultures where infant skulls were tightly bound to shape them. But this explanation never fully sat right with researchers. These skulls were too extreme, too abnormal to simply be the result of a cultural practice. And now, thanks to modern AI-driven DNA analysis, those lingering doubts have erupted into a terrifying revelation that could shatter everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. They tried to hide it, but now you know. The question is, will you keep it to yourself, or will you let the world see? Hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts below, and share this before the truth is buried again. The moment this AI technology took aim at these skulls, the results were nothing short of catastrophic. What they found couldn't just be ignored, and it certainly couldn't be explained by headbinding alone.
The DNA results didn't just suggest a simple anomaly. They pointed to something far more complex and unsettling. Researchers expected the samples to trace back to known Native American groups. After all, the Paracas people had long been thought to be an indigenous group of the Andes region. But the AI analysis quickly shattered that theory. Instead of finding familiar genetic markers, the AI uncovered DNA that didn't belong to the Americas at all. Mitochondrial DNA, the kind passed down from mother to child, pointed to haplogroups that were not indigenous to Peru. These genetic markers, H2A and T2B, are most commonly found thousands of miles away, in regions like the Caucasus in Mesopotamia, areas near the Black Sea in ancient Mesopotamia. To find such ancient DNA in Peru is akin to discovering a polar bear skeleton in the middle of the Sahara Desert. This revelation doesn't just challenge the idea of ancient human migration, it rewrites history. These genetic markers raise a staggering question. What were people from the Caucasus doing in Peru 3,000 years ago? The implications of this discovery are mind-boggling. If the AI results are correct, the Paracas people could have had roots that stretch far beyond the Andes, across continents and oceans, to a time when global connections seemed impossible. For centuries, the prevailing theory in anthropology has been that the Americas were settled by people migrating from Asia across the Bering Land Bridge around 15,000 years ago. This theory has shaped our understanding of how ancient civilizations developed in the New World. But what if this was wrong? The genetic evidence from the Paracas skulls suggests something far more complicated: an earlier migration from Europe or the Middle East, with advanced navigational knowledge that seems out of place for the era. To propose that ancient peoples could cross vast oceans with the technology of the time challenges the very core of what we know about ancient civilization. To travel such distances, these ancient voyagers would have needed more than simple rafts or canoes. They would have needed advanced shipbuilding, navigation, and sailing skills, which, according to mainstream history, weren't supposed to have existed at that time. The fact that this discovery was hidden in the DNA of the Paracas skulls raises another question. How many other ancient artifacts are out there, waiting to be uncovered? Could this DNA evidence be pointing to a global civilization that once spanned continents, sharing knowledge and cultures before vanishing into the annals of time?
The mystery surrounding the Paracas skulls is not just about the DNA. It's about the anatomical anomalies that set these skulls apart from anything seen before. These skulls are massive, with cranial volumes that are up to 25% larger than the average human skull. But it's not just the size. There are structural oddities, too. Some of the skulls appear to lack the sagittal suture, the fibrous joint that typically connects the two halves of the skull in most humans. This absence is so unusual that it doesn't just hint at head modification, it suggests something fundamentally different. If these skulls were artificially modified, why were they so extreme? Why were they not just elongated, but enlarged and differently structured? The question isn't just about why they looked this way, but how this could have happened. Some researchers propose that these skulls were not created by artificial deformation alone, but rather they could be the remnants of a distinct population with natural cranial features that were later exaggerated by cultural practices. Could these people have come from a distant civilization, one with unique anatomical features, and arrived in Peru to become the ruling elite? The possibility of a trans-oceanic migration is no longer just a fringe theory. It's supported by hard evidence that these skulls were unlike anything seen in the Americas or anywhere else at the time. So how did AI reveal these shocking truths? DNA analysis of ancient remains is notoriously difficult. Over time, the genetic material degrades into millions of fragments, making it nearly impossible to decipher with traditional methods. But AI changed that. Using powerful algorithms, scientists could now piece together these fragmented pieces of DNA, revealing repeating patterns and connections that were invisible to the naked eye. AI works by sorting through vast amounts of genetic chaos, identifying patterns and correlations that would take human researchers years, if not decades, to uncover. With this technology, researchers were able to extract meaningful genetic data from the ancient Paracas remains, allowing them to trace these people's origins. The results were astounding. DNA that should have belonged to known Native American groups instead connected them to European and Middle Eastern populations from thousands of miles away. But the real question is, why does this matter? What's at stake here isn't just ancient ancestry. It's the very story of human migration, which may have been rewritten by a technology that can see what our minds can't.
Now, we're left with more questions than answers. How did these distant peoples arrive in Peru 3,000 years ago? Could this discovery be proof of a lost civilization? Some researchers are leaning into the theory of diffusionism, which suggests that advanced knowledge didn't develop independently in isolated societies. Instead, it may have spread from a single ancient civilization, possibly a civilization like Atlantis, that existed long before the rise of the cultures we recognize today. The Atlantean theory posits that a group of survivors from this long-lost civilization could have sailed across the oceans to regions like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and even Peru, carrying with them advanced knowledge of architecture, astronomy, and agriculture. These travelers could have then become the ruling elite in the societies they encountered, sharing their knowledge and shaping new civilizations. Could the Paracas people have been descendants of such a lost race? Were they trying to preserve the memory of their divine ancestors with their elaborate head-shaping rituals? If these skulls are evidence of an ancient trans-oceanic connection, then it opens the door to the possibility that we are dealing with much more than just head-binding. We could be uncovering the remnants of a global network of ancient civilizations hidden in the mists of time. As the pieces of the Paracas mystery continue to fall into place, a darker story begins to emerge. According to independent researchers, there is a growing suspicion that the truth behind these skulls is being deliberately suppressed. Despite the shocking revelations from AI analysis, many experts argue that further research is being blocked. Requests for DNA samples and more comprehensive studies are reportedly ignored or delayed, and some believe that powerful academic institutions are actively preventing a deeper investigation. Why would anyone want to suppress this information? The most likely reason is the immense disruption it would cause to our understanding of human history. The DNA evidence that points to a trans-oceanic migration challenges the accepted historical narrative. If these findings were confirmed, it would mean rewriting textbooks and radically changing what we know about the peopling of the Americas. Some claim that the Paracas skulls are too sensitive, that they're too fragile for more testing. But critics argue that this excuse is too convenient. What are they hiding? Could it be that the discovery of alien-like skulls and foreign DNA in ancient Peruvian remains is just too much for mainstream history to handle? While many are still reeling from the implications of the Paracas DNA revelation, modern connections could bring new answers. Are there any present-day groups or individuals that claim to be descendants of the Paracas people? Could this ancient civilization's influence still resonate today in some of the cultural practices or genetic traits of the people living in Peru now? Some researchers suggest that the Paracas people's legacy may have persisted through local myths and legends passed down through generations, perhaps even in the form of rituals, art, or other cultural expressions that could have preserved their once great civilization's distinctiveness. In fact, some modern Peruvian families have long claimed ancestry to the Paracas elite, pointing to physical features such as elongated skulls and unique genetic traits that persist through the centuries. Could these legends contain hidden truths about an ancient connection that the scientific community has overlooked for years? The search for answers doesn't just rest in the ancient past. There may be a living thread that links the Paracas to modern Peru, and the mystery may be far from over. As the dust settles on the explosive revelations about the Paracas skulls, one question remains: what's next? With a theory as wild and bold as a trans-oceanic migration thousands of years ago, there are still too many unanswered questions. Where did these mysterious people come from? How did they find their way to Peru? And perhaps most chillingly, why has history been hiding the truth? For now, the mainstream scientific community remains reluctant to fully embrace the findings. But the evidence, the DNA, the skulls, and the archaeological anomalies suggest we are on the verge of an unprecedented discovery. Are we about to uncover the lost history of humanity? Could it be that the Paracas skulls hold the key to a forgotten chapter of global civilization? As more discoveries are made and the debate grows louder, it's clear the Paracas mystery is far from over. The next chapter of this story might be even more terrifying than we ever imagined. And perhaps the real question is not just about what we've uncovered, but what we might still be missing.